Hello friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, I am going to be completing the next 4 spreads in this Montana Traveler's Notebook travel album that I'm creating for my mom for Mother's Day. So if you have not seen the first 2 videos in this series, I will make sure to link them up at the eye and down in the description for you so you can check those out, which gives you a walkthrough and some tutorials on how I created the first 8 spreads in this album. And then today we're going to complete the next 4, and then I'll have one more video after this to do the last 4, and this album will be complete. I am using the Featurecraft Explore More kit, and a lot of the times I am using the digital elements that I have altered so that they will work inside of my Traveler's Notebook. Before we get into assembling today's pages, I am going to take you over to my computer to show you how I created these pieces from the digital kit, so that if it's something you want to recreate and you have the digitals, then you can. All right, friends, so let's head over there to my desktop, and then once I show you that process, I'll meet you back over here and we'll get to work on assembling this album. Hey there, friends. Welcome back over to my desk space here. I am inside of Photoshop Creative Cloud, and I am going to show you first, before we get into the physical putting together of the album today, I want to show you how I took some of the digital elements from the Explore More Featurecraft kit in order to make them work for me in a Traveler's Notebook. So first, let's go ahead and open up the pieces that we need for spread number 9, because we're working on 9, 10, 11, and 12 today. So the first one that I made was a card that is actually 5 inches tall by 8.5 inches wide, because my plan, I'll open these both up so you can see, my plan is to have the pattern paper go all along the top of my spread and then my photo to go all along the bottom of my spread. I needed it to be a little bit longer than this section because there's actually going to be a little bit of overlay here. So that's why I chose to make it 5 inches. Actually, my rulers are not even up. There we go. So that's why it's 5 inches, even though technically it's only 3. I made it 5, so it goes all the way down to right about here-ish. Okay, so let me show you how I made it. So first what I did is I went ahead and opened up a new canvas, and this one I made 5 inches wide. No. Is that right? We'll do this. 5 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall, which is fine, but really it needs to be opposite of that. So let's go ahead and rotate this. So it's really going to be 8.5 inches wide by 5 inches tall. So this looks better. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this page here, or not this page, this card right here. So Control and C for copy. And then we're going to just go ahead and put it onto the spread. Yeah, I'm thinking I went ahead and I made it bigger. So then I'm going to expand it. We're going to have it fill up the entire space here, hit the enter button, and now it comes into focus, and I'm just going to save it just like that. I mean, this one was super simple. So I would merge those layers together by selecting Control, Shift, and the letter E, and then that will merge everything together. Or you can go up to the top where it says Layer and then Merge Visible, and that will also bring it down into one file, which just makes it easier to move it around and get it printed. So that is our first spread today. In case I didn't mention it while I was doing that, to select all, you would hit the hotkeys on a keyboard or Control or Command A, or you can go up to the Select menu and hit All. Then to copy, I hit the hotkeys Control or Command C to copy, and Control or Command V to paste. Or if that's a little too tricky, you can also come up to the Edit menu, and under the Edit menu, you'll find Copy and Paste. So I just want to put that out there. Sometimes I forget to mention these things as I am talking to you guys. All right, so that is going to be spread number 9. For spread number 10, we're actually not going to be doing anything for this one. I left everything as is. I will show you that I did kind of digitally figure this out before we're going to get over to the graph table. I'm planning to make this into a tag shape here in the middle, so it's all a bunch of tags. and then to fill in any empty spots with ephemera pieces. But I did go ahead and remove, so I took this card, this 4x6 card here, and I grabbed my magic wand tool so I can select the background. Before I do that, I need to unlock the layer. There's this little lock button. If you just click on it, it unlocks it. Then you can grab or click on the blue part and hit the delete button, which gives you all of the shapes. Then let's deselect, so Control or Command D. That gives me all, like I said, all of these different shapes, but they're all still one big file. So what I did to separate them out, to move them around and just see where I wanted them to go, is I used my marquee tool and I just put a box around each one. So this one first, and then right clicked on it and said layer via cut. So that's going to remove it from the rest of the background. Then I can go to the next one and do the same thing, put a box around it, right click, layer via cut. It's going to remove that one from the background. And I just did this until I had all of them as separate pieces. What this is doing is it's making each of them its own layer. So I can use them individually instead of them being part of a bigger background. This makes it really easy to actually manipulate them to see what you want to do with them before actually cutting them apart. So when I did this, it allowed me to see, like, is this a design that's going to work for me? Is this something I actually like? You know, so on and so on. And there we go. So now they're all separated. So I can bring them all back up and it's going to look just like the card is all the same card. But then I can use my selection tool to select different layers. And like, let's just say I opened up an 8 1/4 by, or a 4 1/4 by 8 1/4. So Traveler's Notebook size page. So I can go to here, select one of the layers, copy it, Control C, and then paste it, Control V. And this I can move wherever I want it to go on here. Same, I can come here, grab this one, and then paste it and put it on there. Let's say it's a little bit hard to see. Something you could do is you could just use the eyedropper tool to pick up maybe like this dark green color. Black would work too though. And then selection tool, make sure you've got the one that's hard to see selected, and then you can go up to edit and stroke and then hit OK, and it will put a dark line around it. So if I zoom in now, you can see there's a line. So that helps to determine separation between the background and the actual element itself. So I just did that a whole bunch until I eventually, let me pull open my card here. I eventually got them all placed on here where I think I want them to go. I'm okay if they still end up moving around. That's totally fine. But I just wanted a good idea of how I could design this page when we get over to the table in order to make it faster for me to actually do it. Plus, if I mess up something digitally, it's not a big deal, versus if I mess up on something in its physical form, it's a little bit bigger of a deal in that format. Okay, so that was spread number 10. For number 11, what we're going to do is we're going to take a 3x4 journaling card and we're going to turn it into a 8 1/4 or 4 1/4 by 8 1/4 journaling card. So let's go ahead and open up a canvas that is the Traveler's Notebook sized. Here we go. Then we're going to come over to our 3x4 journaling card, the original card here. And I want to select all of it. So here's where you can select in all or Control A. Then we're going to copy, so you can go edit, copy, or Control C, and then over to our main event here and edit, paste, or Control V. To get this sized the way that I want it to be, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to transform the object. So having the card layer selected, I'm going to push on Control and T, which is transform. And once I do that, it's going to put a line all the way around it with a couple of boxes where I can click and drag to make it bigger, or you could make it smaller too, but bigger in my case. So I'm going to expand the width of it to fill up the entire canvas and then push enter, and it will come into focus. Now with the move tool, I can move the card all the way up to the top here. And then the last bit that I want to do is I want to grab my marquee tool here, which is right underneath the move tool, and I'm going to select from underneath the line that says weather all the way down below today's date. You can see once it's selected that the marching ants are going. To select, all I did was I clicked and I held and then dragged all the way down to this corner. Now right click inside of that box and we're going to layer via copy this time because we don't want to extract this off. We just want to copy it. Grab our move tool and then we can take this piece and we can move it down to where we start to see the next box come in. So right about there. And then we will go ahead and merge those layers together, which is the Control Shift and the letter E, or layer and merge layers. And then we're going to do this one more time. So grab that marquee tool, make a selection all the way below the date, right click and layer via copy. Grab the move tool and then move that down all the way to the bottom where we actually want it to go. Maybe, I don't want it to be that far down. So maybe like right about here is good. And then we'll merge them. So here's the other way, layer and merge visible. And then that's going to give me this card. The other thing that I did is, since I'm making this album as a gift and I'm actually not going to be filling in the journaling myself, I wanted to add in some journaling lines so that my mom could fill this out a little bit easier. So what I did for that is I came to my shape tool in this left menu. In the shape tools, you might have the rectangle or ellipse tool currently selected. If you click and hold on the tool, then a menu will pop up and then you can select the line tool. Holding the shift button down, I'm going to click and drag a line on this document. And the pink line there tells me that I have it centered. So that's great. With that, I'm going to unclick and then hit the enter button. And it's going to allow my line to show up here. So the reason I held down the shift button, if I click and I drag a line in any other way, it can diagonal. It's hard to get it perfectly straight. So when you hold the shift key, it makes it so that it stays straight no matter where your mouse is, either straight up, straight down, or straight diagonal. So it's just a really easy way to make a straight line. But we're not going to use that one. So with this one line done, which now I realize is actually green and not black, it's okay. We're going to get the same idea here. So I'm going to highlight the shape by just drawing a box over it to select it. Control C for copy, Control V for paste. That gives me another line here. Control T to transform, which also lets me move this a little bit easier. Okay, so then we're waiting until the mouse, I'm going to show you here in just a second. So when you're trying to move it, if you get these up and down arrows, you don't want that, because if you click and drag, it's going to make it a box. So you don't want those lines. You want to just move until you get your mouse to where it looks like this, where there's just an arrow. And when you have that, that's an actual move tool. The first line is always, or the second line, I suppose, is always the hardest. So then we can go ahead and select both of those lines, come down to the layers menu, right click on them and rasterize those layers to make them a little bit easier to work with. And then we're going to copy them, paste them, and transform them, Control T. And then from here, we can add these to our lines. There we go. Now I can grab all four of them. See, so it gets a little bit easier as we start to build these lines in. Okay, and I'm gonna say right about there. Now I probably don't need all of them, so let's do maybe these. Transform, move them. Oh, I even had too many here. Let's go to like right here. It looks like just that top one is a problem. So then with that, ooh, did I group those? What did I do here? Let's zoom in and find out what happened here. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna, I don't know what that was. I probably pasted something, didn't realize it. So we're going to not do that. We're going to copy maybe these ones, paste them, transform them, and then move them down. And actually that's perfect. So there we go. We've got some journaling lines on this card, and now this one, what I would do last before printing it is just go ahead and merge all those layers together so it just becomes one big thing, and then that'll do it. So that is for that one. I'm actually going to leave this open and not have it all merged just in case I need those lines again. So then we've got one more spread to go through, which is spread number 12, which for me, I'll show you what I did here. It's pretty simple. For me, I'm doing a spread that is turned. So I've got my photo here. I've got a second photo. I'll put some kind of embellishment here. And I am using this highlights card, which is from the main kit. I'm leaving it as a 3x4, so like this. The only thing I did was I added some lines to it because, again, I'm making this as a gift. So I'm just going to grab a couple of these lines and then let's paste them onto the document here. It's too many lines already, so let's just enter that. Let's delete one off of there. And then I'm going to select the rest, transform them, bring them into the document here. That looks pretty good. And then I think what I'll do is I'll use my marquee tool to select a portion of those, and then we can not cut that. So I guess what I probably need to do is merge these first. So let's merge those lines together. And then we will take a section of them and layer via cut so I can get rid of that. So now I can take this, transform it, and center it onto the page, which looks a little bit better there. Now on the one that I did, I actually put in some more lines than that. Yeah, they're spaced a little closer together, closer to what the bottom spacing is. But just for the sake of showing you, that's essentially how I did it. Okay, so that is going to be it for spreads number 9 through 12. So now that I have shown you how all of it is done on the computer, let's head back over to my desk and we'll actually get these pages put together. Okay, so now that we're back at my craft table, let's go ahead and start getting these spreads assembled. So the first one we're going to do is the one where the photo and the journaling card span over the entire spread horizontally. So what I did is I took the photo and I cut it in half. So each of those sides are 4 1/4 inches wide by however many inches tall. And then I did the same exact thing for my pattern paper as well that we created digitally and then printed off on the matte photo paper. For one of the photos, I put the score tape all around the perimeter of the whole photo, just like I did for these pattern papers as well. And then for the other photo, so the one that's got my mom and my uncle in it there, on the top, so that's the photo that you can see there. For that one, I put the score tape on the 2 sides and the bottom, and then I took one of the journaling cards that says Wander. You can kind of see it poking out of the back there, and I just positioned it where I wanted it to go, flipped over the photo, and then added my adhesive underneath the base of the journaling card. The reason I did that is because I'm basically making a pocket that journaling card is going to slip into, which you'll see here once I get this part trimmed off. I'm going to just stick it down inside of the photo. And what I wanted to happen is I wanted the word Wander to poke out of the top of that photo. So I've got everything adhered down now, and then all I want to do is look through my die cuts and see if there's anything that I want to add onto this spread just to spruce it up a little bit and give it a little bit of something on it. I don't know. So I am debating on those banners there. And then I also find this red circle that I super love also. It says, I think it says never stop exploring, I believe. So I debate between the two things, and ultimately I decide that I really like the red circle the best. I feel like having that little bit of contrast, because all of the colors on this spread are very cool. So having something that has a really warm tone to it just helped to give it a little bit of extra interest and to make it not look so plain and so blah. This next one is one of my favorite spreads from this entire book. The first thing I'm going to do is take the 4x6 journaling card that is green, and it says, we'll see it here in just a second. And I took another card. Oh, it says, no matter where you travel, there's always something wonderfully new to be found, which I super love. I super love that sentiment as well. So I took it and I used one of the tags that I just have in my stash as a guide to trim off the corners and to hole punch it in the middle so that it now looks like a tag. Then I took the 4x6 card that has all the tags on it and I trimmed those out, fussy cut them out, leaving just a slight little green border around the edge of all of them. Then I also grabbed this die cut that says Wander, and I added that above the above my uncle and his son. So that's all I'm going to do to the photo side. For this side over here with all of these little tag shapes, what I'm going to do is grab a piece of plain white copy paper, cut it down to the traveler's notebook size, so that's 8 1/4 by 4 1/4, and then I will adhere the tags down onto this piece of paper, and then take this piece of paper and adhere the entire thing into the traveler's notebook itself. So I'm using the photo that I showed you guys earlier on my computer as a guide for where I want all of these pieces to go. Some of them I will adjust and, put them in slightly different places than I had originally planned. But for the most part, everything is going to stay almost exactly the way that I planned it on the computer. To me, that's one of the benefits of having the digital products is I can play around with this and see, what is going to work, what configuration am I going to like, so that when I go to actually put this spread together, I know fairly well where everything is going to go. So it takes a lot of the decision fatigue out of it and the fear of messing up. I don't necessarily have that fear anymore because I've already tested it out digitally before coming over here to put it together physically. Now for the journaling card or the tag in the middle of this page, I did go ahead and cut some black and white twine to string in the middle. I wanted just a little bit of texture on this page, but I also didn't want to put twine in all of the tags because I felt like that might be, number one, a little bit of overkill, and number two, maybe too bulky for this book. But having the one there in the middle, I felt like would be okay, that I wouldn't have to sacrifice too much of the ability to close my album in order to have that little bit of twine there. And I think that it really does add a lot of interest to this page. For some of these tags, I will go ahead and cut them in half, like the one that you saw right there. And then I've got a little bit of blank space that I don't really know what to do with. So I'm going through my die cuts, seeing what I have in here, and I've actually got this blue label that I'm debating here for a second. I put it away because I'm thinking no, I want everything to have those green tones. But then when I pull the photo back over, you'll see here in a little bit that there is some blue in that photo. I believe my cousin is wearing blue, or maybe my uncle is. Somebody has blue on. So it ends up making a lot of sense to have some of the extra blue in that label. So I will bring that back over and cut it in half and then add those into the blank sections. For this one, I'm going to stick it down here, this half of a tag, and then I'm going to think better about it and pull it back up and see what would this look like if I put the tag upside down so that everything is not necessarily right side up and in a row. But I don't really like it. I like it better to have everything right side up and in a row. So I'm going to add that one there. And then on the opposite side, I will put this one a little bit further down. That way the two pieces are offset and it's not as obvious that they are the exact same tag that I just cut in half. So I'm pulling out a bunch of my other label stickers, trying to see, is there something else? I'm really trying to find something in those green tones because I like that everything on this page has green in it. And honestly, if I would have had maybe one more label that would have been green, I probably would have just gone ahead and used the green instead of using the blue. But I didn't have any of that, so I'm just going to go ahead, cut this guy in half and use him instead. And I actually kind of like the pop of blue in there. It helps to break up all the green. and gets you looking at the individual tags and shapes as well. So I think it works out. I almost forgot to tape down that last little circle there in the middle. And then once I've got everything down on the page, I will flip it over and trim off all of the excess. I ended up with a little bit extra of the long tag there at the bottom, so I debated adding this next to it since there is a little bit of open space there. I even go so far as to add some adhesive and tape it down and then decide I don't like it. So I'll just rub the glue or the tape right back off, and you don't even know that anything was ever there. And then I resume going ahead and trimming all of those pieces off. For this one, I will go ahead and add my double-sided adhesive to the back side of that page and then stick it in the album and trim off the excess. And here's where you can see the blue in my cousin's coat and how that correlates to the blue in the label. So now we're on to the next one. The one that we just got done with all the tags, that was the most complicated spread physically of this entire video today. I think I have one more in the last video that's a little bit complicated, but honestly still not even as much as that green one. But I love the way that it turned out. So for this spread, I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I've got 2 die cuts that I am going to layer up here and add into the bottom section of the photo. The nice thing is this covers up a large portion of the handrail there, so you don't see it as much once I get the die cuts down. And this photo is really cute. So up in the mountain area by the trees, my grandpa and my cousin are just kind of hanging out together, which is super special because my grandpa doesn't get to see him very often, or, Jack, my cousin, doesn't get to see my grandpa very often. So it's sweet when they are able to capture moments of them together. I did go ahead and stamp a sentiment there in the red label, and then I stuck everything down and called that spread good. So now we're on to the last one for today. This one, I decided to just go a little nuts and change my orientation. Sometimes I do this. I don't mind having to turn the book in order to see everything. So I'm just going to put it in here sideways. I loved the photo of all 4 of the guys. So you've got my grandpa in the front, and then my Uncle Tommy, who is the one that's a little bit, Tommy and I are only like 5 years apart. And then his son, who is a year younger than Isabella, and then my Uncle David, who is closer in age to my mom. So it's all of the men in the family all taking a photo together, and I just really super love that photo. So I didn't want to cut it in half, which is why I decided to turn it sideways so that I could still have it be a super big photo, but not detract from anything by cutting it in a weird way. I picked out 2 die cuts to add into the upper left-hand corner of that photo. One says family vacation, and one says sights and something like that. Sight, view, scenic route, something like that. Anyway, for the bottom part of this spread, what I'm doing is I'm looking for some kind of pattern paper that I can put behind the journaling card and the photo and the die cut that I had pulled out. I believe that I find one that's got a green stripe on it, and that's what I end up liking the best. I like that it pulls in the green tones from the trees up above. And then what I'll do is I'll just layer everything onto that page. I believe I'm going to put adhesive on this and then decide, wait a second, let me put it in the book first. Because what I was afraid of is if I put everything down on the pattern paper and then put that into the book, that I would end up having to trim a portion of it off, and then it wouldn't be centered anymore. So instead, what I'm going to do is put the paper onto the page first and get that trimmed off. And then I'll go ahead and add all of the other pieces onto the already prepared paper, which you can see right here. So I've got the highlights, journaling card there for my mom to fill out. I've got a picture of my aunt and my cousin together doing something with the phone, and then a die cut piece here that has some mountains in it, and it had some words relating to exploring the mountains and that sort of thing on it as well. And so with that, The 4 spreads that we are working on today are officially completed. All right, friends, that completes my next 4 spreads. So we have this one here that has the pull-out journaling card that my mom can fill out however she likes. Then we've got this tag page, which I really, really love the way that this one turned out. This one can just be left blank for just decoration, or we could totally add text or journaling onto the cards, onto these little tags themselves. The next one was super simple, just a photo of my cousin and my grandpa and my mom, place for journaling. And then the last one turns on the side because I wanted to get the picture of all of them here. Then there's some area for journaling, a picture, and some more embellishing. So those are the 4 spreads for today. Super, super love the way that this album is coming together. If you enjoyed these spreads, I would love a thumbs up down below, and make sure you hit that subscribe button while you're there if you haven't already, so you can catch all of my future crafty videos. I will be back one more time with another video in this album. I have lots of other projects as well, but in this album specifically, I have one more video coming up that will cover the last 4 spreads of the book. So hopefully I will see you back here for that when that video goes live. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Have a great week next week, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye, friends.